Well, hey, and welcome to another episode of Beetle Dustino, coming at you again today with yet another video. And whew, I just got done filming that monstrosity of a video that you just watched on Wednesday. Hopefully you watched it on Wednesday. I hope was able to get that edited in time. Wow. All right. Anyways, we're coming at you again today to talk about the remixed albums and what's going on here with them. Of course, we started with Sgt. Pepper's, and we'll talk about the rest and the missing albums now after the intro. So hopefully this video will go a little quicker than that last one, as I just want to kind of talk about this. I think, we're all expecting, since this came out, they really did a good job of doing the anniversary years and getting these remixed new stereo mixes out there. So 2017 we had the Sgt. Pepper's for the anniversary. 2018 we had the White Album for the anniversary. 2019 we had Abbey Road for the anniversary. 2020 we were supposed to get Let It Be for the anniversary, but it ended up being 2021 with everything that went on in the world that year. 2022, and I think this is the one that really set our expectations, is because they went backwards and didn't even do a true anniversary year and went reverse from, starting now the album before Sgt. Pepper's, and we went with Revolver for the special edition here. Not anniversary at all on that. Anyways, the last couple of years since 2022, 2023 we got the Red and the Blue album box and, remixed and revisited. And so a lot of those missing albums did get a lot of tracks remixed. And I had mentioned in, I think, my anthology news video that, it seems like it's kind of a loss that they're halfway there on some of these albums. So why aren't they getting these new stereo remix boxes out there for us? I know I'm hearing a lot, too, that there isn't a lot of demos and outtakes and stuff that they could put on that. But with the MAL technology nowadays, too, I think there's live stuff out there, especially these earlier albums, 1965 and back, even. They were still touring even in 66 when Revolver was coming out. There's some live stuff that they could try to clean up now and kind of include. I think would be cool. So I think they're kind of missing out on some stuff here. And I'm kind of hoping they get back to getting these, get back to where you once belong. Get back to getting these albums remixed and, the new stereo mix out there and a nice little box set of some sort. And I'm even going to propose, why do we need a big huge box set on every single one? Even like a nice little 3-disc CD box, just a little no bigger than maybe like this. Maybe don't use a digipack, but like a digi sleeve, not a digipack. But just maybe even make a little box like that, for some of these albums. However, I think they could just squeeze 2 albums together and really make a really cool box set too. I think there is a little formula that was used with Revolver here, because there really is only, there's only 4 discs plus the EP, which I know the EP really kind of pisses people off, but I think they could stop with the EP thing, because there is an album that everybody's expecting that they're going to do with this too. That album is what those EPs are kind of focusing on, so they could get away with that. Or I guess they could just do it in that form and then they don't have to do that other album. But anyways, let's go through of what's out there that has been remixed on the Red and the Blue albums. And of course, 2024 we got the US albums issued, and everybody's kind of like, well, what happened to the other albums? We had several that were in anniversary years, 60th anniversary years there. Now 2025, the anthology, and again, Rubber Soul was missed in its anniversary year, and Help for that matter. But yeah, like I said, several of these have had several songs remixed already when the Red and the Blue album got remixed and expanded in 2022. So with that expansion, that did add on quite a few songs off of that. So let's go through what has been done, and we'll start with Please Please Me, just to make it easy, just kind of go in order. So Please Please Me had 3 of the 14 songs are now on remixed on the Red album. And you're kind of, in 2022, they got a remix. So not quite halfway there, but we're getting there. And yeah, you might say, oh, Love Me Do was on the Red album. Well, yeah, that's the single version of Love Me Do. I really researched that to find out. And yes, that's the single version, not the album version. So technically the album version hasn't been remixed yet. But yeah, we had I Saw Her Standing There, Please Please Me, and Twist and Shout. All were remixed on the new 2022 edition of the Red Album. So 3 of the 14 songs. Yeah, we're getting there on that one. With the Beatles, again, it was 3 of the 14. All My Lovin', Roll Over Beethoven, and You Really Got a Hold of Me. We're all done up on the Red Album there in 2022. That one we're kind of getting there, but not quite. And then A Hard Day's Night had 4 of the 13. That one was kind of a rare one that only had 13, not 14, on the UK albums. So we had Can't Buy Me Love, You Can't Do That, A Hard Day's Night, and I Love Her. Well, there we go. I was going to say, wait a second, I'm kind of saying that word twice. So that one we're getting there. Beatles For Sale, I think, was the one that was the most neglected on the Red Album. Only 8 days a week is on there, so only 1 of the 14 off of that one. Help, we got pretty good of the ways there. Well, kind of. We got 4 of the 14 with Ticket to Ride, Yesterday, Help, and You've Got to Hide Your Love Away. All were on the Red Album. Rubber Soul, that is the big one that I said, there's an album or 2 out there that half of them are done. It's halfway done, and Rubber Soul is the one that is halfway there. We've got Drive My Car, Norwegian Wood, Nowhere Man, Michelle, In My Life, If I Needed Someone, and Girl have all been done. 7 of the 14 are already there on that one. So that's the one that is really lacking, and I know everybody really wants that one, and I'm really hoping for next year they do it. I'm not going to get my hopes up too high on this because the last 3 years have really proven don't get your hopes up on this. I think it's doable. Magical Mystery Tour is another one that is, wow, it's over half done. If you include the 2015 one remixes that were done up for the one plus issues that came out that year. This one's all over the board, and I did write down what year each was done. But Strawberry Fields Forever was done in 2015. Penny Lane was done in 2017 for the Sgt. Pepper's. All You Need Is Love was done in 2015 for one. I Am the Walrus was done in 2023 for the Red and the Blue album. I think I was saying 2022 earlier. It was 2023. Revolver was 2022. Hello Goodbye was done in 2015 for one. The Fool on the Hill and Magical Mystery Tour were both done in 2023 for the Red and the Blue album. Well, yeah, be the Blue album on that one. So 7 of the 11 tracks off of that album were done. And I do think they could do a nice box with that. And I'll kind of get to that when we get to that, kind of with what they could do. Yellow Submarine, 3 of the 6 of the Beatles songs, not the George Martin instrumental stuff. 3 of the 6 are done, all vary in years. Yellow Submarine was done in 2022 with Revolver. Hey Bulldog was done in 2023 with the Blue album. And All You Need Is Love was done in 2015 with one. It's possible now that 2015 mix is getting to be pretty old. And, several of these do have that 2015 mix on Magical Mystery Tour and Yellow Submarine. And as we'll get to the Past Masters, maybe they might update that as the technology is even that much better 10 years on. So, 11 years, 12 years, whenever they finally get to these. Yeah, we'll see on that. But 3 of the 6 on that. So we're about halfway there with the actual Beatles material on there. But 2 of those songs were already on another album. So I guess there we go on that. So Past Masters. There's 33 tracks on Past Masters between the original Volume 1 and Volume 2. Now it's just Past Masters Disc 1 and Disc 2. Or 3 disc, I suppose, with the LPs. Is it 3? I think, maybe. I don't have a copy of Past Masters on vinyl, so there we go. Anyways, Love Me Do, From Me to You. And if I'm not mentioning a year, that means they were done in 2023 with the Red album. Or possibly the Blue album, as we'll get to that. But yeah, Love Me Do, From Me to You. And that's the single version of Love Me Do. From Me to You. We'll try this again. She Loves You, I Want to Hold Your Hand, This Boy, I Feel Fine, Day Tripper, We Can Work It Out. We're all done on the Red album. Yep, that would be right. Paperback Writer was done in 2022 for the Revolver box. Lady Madonna 2015 for one. Hey Jude 2015 for one. Revolution 2023 for Blue album. Get Back, the single version, was done in 2015 for one. Don't Let Me Down was done in 2021 for Let It Be. The Ballad of John and Yoko was done in 2015 for one, and Old Brown Shoe was done in 2023 for the Blue album. So there we go on that. Now, like I said, I don't think they need to have massive amounts of disc on these, as you know, the Revolver one kind of proves. And I think this is a pretty good format that they could stick by. Do the stereo remix of the album, include an original mono mix, especially with the vinyl, have an analog one out of the in mono box set. You know, for people that weren't lucky enough to get the in mono box set in 2014 or 2025, they got a chance to get it. Because if you got the Revolver box set with the vinyl one, you do got pretty much what's in the in mono box there with that disc there. And then 2 discs of outtakes in that. And I think they could stretch enough on that, even with Please Please Me, just include some live stuff, clean it up, and, put that in there. I know there's that 1963 official bootleg. That's got quite a few things off of Please Please Me and with the Beatles, I believe, that you could, officially release on physical media for the first time outside of that box set. On top of that, there's a lot of Live at the BBC stuff. Maybe kind of include stuff like that from those periods. Maybe around the time they were in the studio for that, kind of in those sessions times, include some of the Live at the BBC stuff that's on there that hasn't been on one of the Live at the BBC boxes yet. Different TV performances and stuff that the audio exists out there of live performances. Include that from those periods. I think that would be really cool. So kind of those earlier ones with that. A Hard Day's Night, I think, is a no-brainer, but this kind of gets into who's got the rights to the film. Because I think that would be an awesome box set with the film included, with the CD set. Have the stereo remixed album, the original mono analog. Obviously, the CD, you're not going to be able to do analog, but, with the vinyl box, have the analog one. A disc or 2 of demos and outtakes and live stuff from around that time, or just live stuff from that were off of that album, and then include a copy of the Blu-ray of the film. I mean, to me, that makes a lot of sense. Beatles For Sale, again, not a lot has been done on that one, but pretty much the format that I mentioned with Please Please Me and with the Beatles, I think could be done. Help, again, we're onto a film one again. Include the new stereo mix, have the original mono album, and then a couple of bonuses, and then a copy of the Blu-ray of the film. I mean, to me, it just makes sense. But again, like I said, who's got the rights to this? Can they package it with the album? I don't know. But I've always thought, A Hard Day's Night, Help, Yellow Submarine, Magical Mystery Tour, even Let It Be would be great with a copy of the film with them all. We'll see what happens in the future here. Rubber Soul, no film, obviously, but you could do live stuff yet that was off of there. I think there's a live track or 2. I think I've done a video already on what you could do with this one, but like I said, just kind of follow this format. I think Revolver had a really good format, with the 2 disc, with the bonus stuff, the mono, and then the new stereo mix. I mean, it just makes sense. The EP gets a little controversial because you're paying for a disc that's only got 4 tracks on it. I get that, but and that's why I said, maybe leave the EP off, because you got the past masters coming, and now some of this stuff is getting doubled up on past masters with that's been done already on Revolver and, Let It Be. I think those were the only 2 with the EPs so far. Magical Mystery Tour, again, include the film with it, but have the mono mix, the new stereo mix. You could totally do that, and especially the mono mix on that one, because there is a really unique couple of songs with a pretty unique version on that mono mix, isn't there? And I don't know if those are on this version of the in mono box. I got my in mono box sitting down there from the last film there yet, my last video. But yeah, that one there too again. Yellow Submarine, once again, with the film included with it. Have a Blu-ray copy of the film, and with that too, I'm sure you could put the audio on the Blu-ray disc if you're including the Blu-ray with the film. And even with the vinyl set, you could include the disc, the Blu-ray with the film, and then the high-res audio with that. Be a really nice little added bonus to the vinyl set. Yeah, I think these would be really great boxes. Oh, and did I say the mono version? There is no mono version. Well, there is, but not, it's just a fold down of the stereo. But So the Yellow Submarine, maybe we don't need the mono version of. So as I'm just kind of rolling with, what's there. Past Masters, I think you could do, I don't know how you would really do that one. I suppose you could do some live takes of it. That one, I think you almost could just do just Past Masters compilation remixed. Well, it would be nice to have a hardback book talking about all those singles and stuff, though, and showing the different sleeves from around the world and stuff like that. Yeah, I could see that even being in a big box set, but yeah, I don't know. But let me know your thoughts on this. That's kind of just my thoughts. I think, we're halfway there on a couple of these albums, especially the one that everybody really wants. You're halfway there with it, so why not get it out there? It just doesn't make sense. And I think there is some potential for some great boxes out of what's even left. Are they going to be as grandiose as this one is, or even the White Album one? Which the White Album one, unfortunately, I think is quite flawed too, because it does have the mono album in here, but only on the Blu-ray audio. It does not have a CD version of it, but that would have been 2 more discs that would have been added in. So, I mean, I'm glad that they put it onto the Blu-ray, but I kind of wish that they would have had the mono one, especially that would have been nice, the vinyl copy of it when they did that. But then that would have been how many more discs on that too. I think I'm going to get wrapping up on this because I'm kind of all over the board on where I'm kind of going with it. I just kind of want to do kind of off the hip. I took my notes here on what's out there that's been remixed, and I think we're there. We're getting so close on it. It doesn't make sense to not get these albums out there. And Apple, if you're listening, Universal Music, we want this. Us fans, we all want this. I know there's people that are excited for the 1964 US albums in mono stuff. I know, people were really happy with it. Even I was happy with it. The box was ridiculous. The price on the box was ridiculous. The box was great, but it was just way overpriced. The anthology stuff, I mean, it's anniversary. It makes sense. So, yes, but, the red and the blue one was the biggest head scratcher, I think, actually, as I'm looking back at it. Because that one, yeah, it was the anniversary of it, but did it really need to be expanded? Now and Then, I think, is totally out of place on it, especially when 2 years later they did Anthology, where that would have made sense on. I'm very happy Now and Then it happened. I still remember the emotions and everything with Now and Then. I feel like it was just on the wrong vehicle. And I said that back then, because even back then we all knew Anthology was coming in 2025. It seemed like that was already a pretty known thing, that Anthology was happening for 2025. So why they didn't wait for 2025 with that, I don't know. It doesn't make any sense, because it would have made a lot more sense on that. And I think it would have made everybody so much more excited about Anthology if you had the new song attached with it too. And I think Red and Blue would have done just fine even without Now and Then. I really do. If that was what they were going to do for 2023, remix it, expand it, you didn't need to put Now and Then on it. You really didn't, because it doesn't make sense on that album. It makes sense on Anthology, but it doesn't make sense on the Blue album. And I think they would have sold just as well, because everybody bought the Now and Then single, and that would have been nice to have. Anyways, I'm kind of getting off the track here. I do think, I'm hoping Apple, Universal Music, the powers that be, get back to, I'm going to use get back again, get back to where you once belonged, get back to these wonderful remixed album box sets. The collectors are really wanting it. I feel like, even if they did the rest of the albums and just did a whole box set that included each of these albums in there too, that would be great too, I suppose. I'm probably going to get lots of bad comments on that one, so I'm going to leave it in. But just kind of a thought coming to my head as I'm sitting here thinking here. But anyways, I'm going to get fully wrapping up. I'm going to just leave it at that. I think we're there. I wish they would just get these albums out there. And kind of please get it out there, Apple, Universal Music. I think it's time for it to happen. And I think you can release other stuff in the year with this too. It doesn't need to be the only thing. That would be nice if they did 2 of these a year even. Just to get them done with. Do Please Please Me and With the Beatles all in one year. Just get them both out there. Do one, earlier in the year and the other one at the Christmas time and so forth. That would be great. And, I think they'd sell. I think, we're all looking forward to it. I think just stick to this kind of packaging idea on this. I think this is a really well done box. And I think there's enough material on all those albums that you could fill it up. Even if they only do one bonus disc, that's totally fine too. But I think it is vital to include that mono one of all these albums that are missing, minus Yellow Submarine, because yeah, that one really didn't have a true mono one. So, but anyways, I'm gonna get fully wrapping up. Before I do that, once again, I want to thank all my subscribers, and thanks to any new subscribers. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do, and do hit the notification bell so you know when I got new videos coming out. Also, please give the video a like if you liked it. And like I always say, if you stuck around to this point, you must like it, especially if you came back after watching that last video on Wednesday and came to watch this one too. You must like it, so please give it a like and do leave a comment. I love having a discussion with everybody. Let me know your thoughts on this. What do you want to see and say, you know, the Please Please Me with the Beatles, Hard Day's Night, Beatles For Sale, Help, Rubber Soul, Magical Mystery Tour, Yellow Submarine, and Past Masters box sets, if they ever happen. Just let me know your thoughts in the comments here. I think these albums deserve to be celebrated and have a nice box like this with a nice hardback book and a nice everything. So please get it out there. Anyways, that's me totally giving my thoughts on it and signing out. I am Beetle Dustino, signing out.